What's up guys, Jenny and Alex, and today is the 30th birthday of the web. Dude, this is crazy because we would not be here if it was not for the web. We would have never even met. We would have never done the things that we did.
But I think maybe we wouldn't be back together.
I don't think we would have met.
Okay, so let's not unfold the story a little, like,
back in the day.
You know, just yet.
Yeah.
Today is Tasting Tuesday, and let's start with that.
What are we tasting here?
Yeah.
All right.
We are tasting some really nice Beano. Want to tell us what it is?
From Trader Joe's. It is a Petite Reserve Cabernet Sauvignon from Sonoma.
Where the World Wide Web starts.
And can I just mention, it's from the greatest valley in Sonoma, which is the Alexander Valley. Thank you very much. I will take partial credit for that somehow. And okay, can we just talk about the web though while we're drinking this?
Yeah, while you talk, I'll
first
give
a quick taste. First a quick taste. Seriously. All the best stuff in the world comes out of California.
You just discount your own taste of choosing a wife not from California.
No, you live in California. Okay. Can we just talk about the web a little bit? Because the web is so
Very
deep.
serious suddenly.
And it's such an interesting phenomenon that's changed all of our lives, and especially our lives.
Yeah.
More than others, I would say.
Yeah.
Because in a lot of ways, the web has really determined what we have been able to do, and it's given us the tools to do what we've done.
When was your first memory about the World Wide Web?
Some of the earliest times having an old personal computer, I think it was like an old Mac, old Macintosh, and it had an old 14.4 baud modem.
When was that?
It was early 90s.
Oh, okay. So you have it started earlier than me. Well, you're from California, right?
Yeah.
I think I started having internet at home probably right around like late 90s. And I remember that was before I went to the university, not too long before. And then we started to have this, funny. Now it sounds funny.
Dial-up?
Yeah.
Dial-up modem, baby. Seriously, if you're watching this and you don't know what that sounds like, I kind of hate you a little bit because that was such a painful thing to have to deal with.
Yeah, and then you have to always wait and that is almost like is it gonna work or not?
Yes.
It gives me this kind of
it was not a sure thing at all.
Rush.
Right.
Whether it's gonna work or not.
You hear that little and you're like, oh hell yes, I'm getting close, right? And then there's this anticipation, and then it's like, is it gonna connect? And you have your little pop-up screen which shows you the connection, and all of a sudden it'll disappear, and that means you're online.
Yeah.
And usually it doesn't actually work. At least for a long time when I was a kid.
Oh, okay.
It didn't work very much.
That's you see how technology changed. Because for me, it's usually working. When it's not working, I'm very frustrated.
Okay.
I mean, I was very frustrated.
Yeah.
And I guess you have it a little earlier than us. And we're from a big city, so I guess infrastructure is a little different.
In the early days, it was really hit or miss. And I would feel so lucky whatever time I had to just connect to that. Seriously. And then you see, when you see pages loading, it was a rush. Yeah. It was a real rush.
Yeah. And do you remember in the early days, what can you do with it actually?
Oh, it was
after all these pain that you get through, right? What can you do with that?
It was the most simple stuff, like looking up pages about some information.
Yeah, I remember
doing a really simple
search. Long time to load.
You did, yeah. And it was very simple compared to today. It was just mostly text. You were lucky if there was any graphics at all. Maybe some pictures. Yeah. I remember.
I come along a little later than you, I think.
Yeah, it was.
For me, it had pictures.
For our eyes today, it was ugly, but back then it was really a special thing. Yeah. So, if you didn't live through that whole, period where it was not instantaneous to connect, and you were not always connected, the way we are now.
I think it was a lot more with email and stuff.
So I don't know. I would just. If you have not lived through that, you should feel very thankful thankful in the sense that people today they don't give enough credit to what it is. I used to spend so much time tweaking the settings on our modem and everything, and I think usually what I would do wouldn't have any impact, but sometimes I would just think it did, so I'd feel pretty good, like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, and I actually got a job doing tech support.
Because
ISP.
you tweak so much.
Well, that helps. It helps.
Okay, so maybe we can tell people a little bit about why do we think internet has pretty much not only shaped our life, but like pretty much put us together in a lot of ways.
Without the web to connect us,
maybe we should tell people
together.
first, like how we met and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we met in Germany as interns.
We had each graduated from university same year, and then we each joined the same organization, which is a global organization called ISIC. ISIC is the world's largest organization that is student-run
organization,
and their whole thing is about connecting people through traineeships, through internships around the world.
Yeah, so the whole goal is to fight for peace and to maximize the humankind's potential. That's the motto, I don't know how you call it, of the association. And it was started actually right after World War II.
Yeah, along with the United Nations.
Yeah, and the whole reason why there is all these exchanges is that if you know someone from another part of the world as a real human, you would more likely to see them as friends, more likely to see them as human than just enemy and evil. Yeah.
So the United Nations and ISIC, that was part of this whole new world peace initiative that was taking place. Yeah.
And that's how we met. We met each other in Germany doing an ISEC internship. Yeah.
Yeah. And we wouldn't have been there if it hadn't been for the web, and we wouldn't have reconnected if it hadn't been for the web.
I think more the reconnection is a difficult part. Okay, so we met there, and after 4 months, we went our separate ways.
Yeah.
And you went to New York and worked for a startup, and I stayed in Germany and eventually went back to Hong Kong.
Right.
And you have to understand at that time,
this was 2002.
This long distance relationship thing, it's not like today at all. We already find ourselves fortunate because you have Hotmail.
We had ICQ for chat.
Yes.
We had Hotmail.
Yeah.
And those were revolutionary.
Gmail wasn't even like much in the picture.
Hadn't been born yet.
Yeah.
People were connecting with AOL, I remember.
That's pretty much it.
The earliest browsers were, Netscape Navigator.
Yeah.
Which, when you look at it now,
don't we sound like dinosaurs? So like...
It was old school.
In a way, it's like, it really let us connect. I mean, because before that, it would have been posting letters.
Yeah. And phone
call, which is extremely expensive. And flight, which is even more expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember it was, when you think about the value per interaction, back then it was even higher. So email, there was not all that much email being sent around. Not like today. I mean, I get hundreds of messages per day now, right? Think of the hundreds of messages from social media to email.
Honestly, like back then, I don't think people have figured out like direct email kind of thing.
And you didn't get spam.
So you don't get spam, you don't get that many emails. So you read your emails. Like right now, I'll be honest, I don't read most of my emails because just so much junk in there that I just know like, hey, if people want to reach me, they will have other ways to tell me like, read your goddamn this email, then I'll read it.
Yeah.
Kind of. Yeah. So like it's really has evolved and things evolve so quickly. It's amazing. The internet sort of helped us to stay connected, but I don't know, like we sort of like we get from everyday emailing to like every now and then you check in, and you have to realize this is pre-Facebook, Instagram, whatever social media era. And so it's very different actually, because you have to really have that intent. With Facebook and Instagram and stuff, it's like you post something and everybody who's in your connection may already got something, right? So you sort of get in touch in such ways that you don't necessarily have to have that intent to talk to that particular person. It's very different back then.
It is.
It's like if I didn't want to be in touch with you, there would be no touch whatsoever.
People were further apart And it was more difficult to make contact.
Yeah, but I think the irony also comes from the fact that you probably would make it the time that you actually go out of the way to do this type of connection. So like I remember, people used to post Christmas cards and stuff. It's a very sweet thing to do, like it's a certain time of year that you think through all the people you want to write to, and now like I think it's less of the thing. Yeah, so like the internet really did help us to stay connected, and it was in Spain that we did a road trip that we decided, okay, let's be together. But here's the logistic challenge, right? Is that I was working in Germany, you were running your business in California, but we just say like, okay, let's decide to start this thing in Spain. It's like...
That was a leap of faith.
Yeah. It's like, let's just make it work. But here's the thing, it's like, that's the time before there is this term called digital nomads. There's no such thing. So like, there's not a whole lot of reference of how is that supposed to be done, right? Yeah. I remember like, okay, so you run by business nature, you're doing like web development. So it's kind of like, even when the term's not there, you just can see like, why can I not do this in Germany while your clients are in California? It just theoretically seems to be, possible. Yeah.
I used to think that people required, face-to-face, handshake. And I used to meet at this cafe a couple times a week, and then my whole day would be blocked out. I'll be like, okay, now I'm going to meet with you for an hour, and now you for an hour, and now you for an hour. And I was just helping people with their little web projects.
Yeah, he used to be wearing like shirts and stuff, although I've never get to see it. And I mean, you just didn't know what life happens to you that he becomes a plumber today, and you would never see him in a shirt again. But yeah, those were the days.
Yeah.
He would see clients.
So it went from me doing all this face-to-face communication to all of a sudden, once I decided to be with Jenny, I essentially stopped, and people were still asking me, hey, can we meet? Can we talk about this? And I would just say, yeah, I can talk to you, phone call.
Yeah.
And then
it's like always after certain hours because we have a time difference.
Right. And at the time, it was a leap of faith because I didn't know if people were going to be accepting of that. But yeah, it turns out, they didn't actually have to meet me face to face, even though they told me that they did. If I didn't give them any other option except phone call during this particular time, it actually worked out. And it made my ability to work a lot better, I think, because then I could be more focused. And I didn't have such a scattered schedule. Yeah, I mean, some of your long-term clients who you still like are helping. I still have some clients today that we still help.
From back then, right? Like from Germany. Yeah. Like from Germany, from the time when we were in Germany together. Yeah. And so that's how you've been running your business in Germany and in Hong Kong, doing web stuff. And I thought it was fascinating. Like I came from a background where we were taught like, hey, get good grades. I mean, doesn't that sound typical Asian? Get good grades, get into good school, good university, and then get into a big company.
Doctor, lawyer, banker.
I wasn't. I had a corporate job, but that sort of thing. Like pretty structured. Get through the ladder, climb up. Pretty traditional. And I mean, since we were together, and I'm just fascinated by the fact that like, hey, you could be anywhere, anytime, as long as you get the work done, you could make a living. And that's like the most fascinating thing from the World Wide Web. Yeah. And other part of the thing that I thought, internet has worked for us like in an amazing way is when we started to do our things and we realized like, okay, what we really wanted to do is to start a place to host travelers from around the world. And we have been fixing part of the place up and have it on Airbnb so that people can come stay with us. We've been hosting dogs, and you think about that.
That's all through the web.
That's all through the web. That's like shared economy. You think about back in the old days, to try to do this, it's just no way. Back in the old days, you don't start to run something without building everything. back in the old days, if you don't have a taxi license, hotel license, whatever license there is, you just cannot be a service provider. So I do think it helps democratize a lot of things.
Yeah. One thing I love the most about the web and the way the web has evolved is just our distance from information.
Yeah.
I mean, right now, so many times throughout the day, I'm looking things up. And just to have that almost zero barrier to information is a really special thing.
Yeah.
And that has gotten smaller and smaller, that barrier, the longer we go.
Yeah, like I remember when we were in our honeymoon in Portugal, and we went in to see this like amazing library. I was just blown away. Because
All
like
the books.
Yeah, all the books were there, and that's like the most precious thing. That's the place where only the king could go.
Yep.
And eventually the king donated it to the university.
Yeah.
And dude, I mean,
knowledge
it has
used to be
been,
only a very elite
yeah, that's what I actually
available
meant to say.
thing. Yeah. Only available to the very elite.
For a very long time until recently. I mean, think about how it has not only impacted us but developing countries.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the fact that you can just now go online and take a course that's from really, really good university, but for free. I mean, that's something that I don't think you can even think about.
Yeah.
Just, I don't know,
You
10,
can learn
20 years before.
You can learn a language now. I mean, without having to pay for a huge, expensive thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing.
You can see now also like different generations jump onto the web in different ways. Like even like older generations. Like my mom learns English on Duolingo. Like, can you believe that? Like this whole thing. Like I remember when I was a kid, you know, like, and I have like my phone and stuff, and I'm like obsessed with texting or something. And my mom would like yell at me like, "Hey, it's dinner time. Get your device away," and stuff.
And now who's the one playing games during dinner time?
That's my mom.
Mom, quit playing Candy Crush. It's time to eat.
It's just amazing how...
It's really funny.
Yeah, it's
really
just
funny.
amazing how this has evolved. Yeah.
It hasn't been
Go.
all pretty though.
Yeah.
You know, even Tim Berners-Lee in his interview today or yesterday was talking about the challenges of the web. 30 years seems like a long time, but it's not actually that long when you look at the whole totality. I mean, he's in his, 60s
It's
now.
amazingly short.
It is.
Like, I mean, for all these like huge inventions, usually you just think of people like, okay, they must have been dead or something.
Right.
Like, who invented the light bulb? That type of thing.
This thing has developed
But
so quickly.
It is so...
It's hard to comprehend because our whole world has become so dynamic. In big part because of the web. Yeah. So Tim Berners-Lee says there are 3 main areas that he's concerned about with the web today.
Number 1 is basically state-sponsored attacks and that
He calls it deliberate, malicious intent. Next, he says system design that creates perverse incentives.
Yeah, like clickbaits, right?
Yeah. Basically, it's the whole ad-based revenue model.
But it's difficult. It's like the flip side of the coin because the web has been designed to be for free, and all these people who put work into it and have it as a full-time job has to somehow earn some money.
Right. So the third point that Tim Berners-Lee says is the unintended negative consequences, which he actually talks about, like polarization. It's the dynamics that happen in a lot of the communities online, for example.
Yeah, and I think traditionally when you were, let's say, have a more extreme view of things, let's say racism, for example, you probably wouldn't allow yourself say it out so much because of peer pressure, because you feel like, you know, most people don't see the same way as you do. But if you were able to connect with others, you suddenly feel like, hey, I'm not alone. Maybe what I say or what I think is right, and maybe that makes you more empowered to actually say what you really wanted to say. And
it has let people connect.
Yeah, and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, right? I mean, it's like if you were a woman who was being abused and you suddenly connect with other women who actually come out and say, you know, that's not only you. I have the same experience. That's empowering. That's a good thing. But on the flip side, it could also do the same thing for things that's not as good, such as racism.
Yeah, there is a lot of polarization that just kind of naturally takes place online.
Yeah, I think because it helps us to connect with people who are so far away and so...
But who are like-minded.
Yeah.
Based on certain interests or keywords, topics, whatever.
Yeah, which is a phenomenon that didn't actually exist before the web.
And we just don't have the social infrastructure, with social media to really deal with that yet. Well, those are all problems that we're all aware of. But there are so many opportunities, I feel like, with web, with technology, and with where we're going as a society on the web. I mean, you look at what we're doing right now on YouTube.
Yeah.
We have an opportunity to actually connect with people. So I feel really lucky that we actually have this amazing tool in our life.
And I mean, I would look forward to see how the web is evolving in such ways that it's not like manipulating us in the sense of how we are and some of our human nature, but really helping us to make ourselves better, to be a better human being, and actually help us to make us able to solve some really important issues right now.
Like
that
climate
we're all
change?
Facing. Yeah.
Like the world, like the health of our world?
Yeah. You would have thought if they can manipulate us to nudge us to do certain things, to buy certain products, to spend money the way how we wouldn't have actually wanted to, maybe using similar mechanics, we could also nudge ourselves to do something better. Like, I mean, I've read, for example, recently there's a hashtag called trash tag, and it's just, nudging people to pick up trash in their neighborhood and hashtag it. Obviously, that's not like super high tech, but I'm just saying, mechanics, if it can be used against us, maybe somehow it could be used to incentivize us to do something right. Another thing, however, that I'm concerned, as I would say, about the future of web and technology and AI, it's the way how the state could control it. I used to think that this, technology, as in like internet and all that, it's the biggest thing to democratize things. It's the biggest thing to make everything possible. It's the biggest thing to break boundaries. And we're connected because we are like-minded people instead of where we are from, and the country boundaries doesn't mean anything anymore. But I now learned that the state could use that as a control mechanism as much.
Like China.
Yeah, as much as you could democratize the world with it.
We probably shouldn't even talk about that because it will lower our citizenship grade or score.
I probably need a couple more drop of this.
So, if you are the Chinese government watching this, please do not collect any of our biometric data. We are good world citizens. I'm actually more concerned about the potential of what AI could do if it gets loose. Growing up, one of my favorite movies was Terminator and Terminator 2. And that whole story is based on a premise that the machines take over. It's essentially artificial intelligence takes over, and they decide to attack the humans. What if AI actually takes over and they determine the way to save the world from destruction is to just wipe us out?
We haven't even actually had much wine at all.
Suck.
But our conversation's already going very much downhill. I think we should stop right here.
Stay tuned for the next video. Leave us a comment below. Let us know what you think about the Terminator coming after you, or at least about the web.
Again, happy birthday, World Wide Web, and we'll see in 30 years later
if we're still alive.
If we're still alive, what would we think?
Check out the next video, and we'll see you guys there. Peace.
Yo.
Terminator!